With the recent announcement of a live-action adaptation of One Punch Man and a Netflix live-action adaptation of Avatar: The Last Airbender,
Fire Nation attacked.
I think there's no greater time to discuss why the art of adaptation so rarely works. I don't even need a list to count down on because it really all boils down to one point. Media is meant for the format it was created for, and has to be adjusted and changed drastically to become another type. Or, we're putting square pegs in round holes. What do I mean? Well, there's examples from every popular media format, but we're going to focus on the three forms of media that are so often abused: video games, anime, and books. Of the most prolific and memorable video game movies, the first that really comes to mind for me is Doom. Doom is one of the most famous video games of its genre, and with the 2020 game, it's obvious that there are still fans and that it is still relevant. When the 2005 adaptation came out, it failed horribly in capturing what made the game so popular. For one, video games are an interactive experience, and movies are a passive one. You can't change the ending of a film, just like you can't change your own destiny. All you can do is watch. But a game experience depends on one's dedication, playstyle, and in-game choices. If you win or lose, get a good ending, or a bad ending, or decide to just wander around aimlessly, it's all up to you. The nature of a video game, especially one like Doom, which is focused so heavily on the bang-bang sticks and carnage, were relatively light on plot. And what plot it did have was thrown aside due to budgetary and writing concerns, taking the hell out of Doom and changing it into something else entirely. As said ever so aptly on Eurogamer, even the dumbest action film requires, as basic underpinnings, things that Doom simply doesn't have. More than one character, dialogue, a plot, and any kind of motivation or internal logic whatsoever for the action. Now, there's been a lot of anime adaptation failures in the West, but of the most recent ones, Death Note is often the one that angers fans the most. It's not just that the characters' backgrounds and appearances changed, although that's certainly a part of it. It's how far the subject matter has changed in order to become something that Netflix assumed was palatable for the masses. Despite the plot being integrally tied to Japan, it was moved to America, which then meant the rest of the plot had to change. There was an unnecessary addition of gore and violence to undercut the cool, calm, psychological nature of the show and manga. While the original was full of intellectual battles, the adaptation was focused more on action, which was intended to draw an American audience. Instead of allowing Light Yagami to be the cool-headed mastermind anime fans knew him to be, he was distorted into a pathetic, innocent victim who simply got caught up in the bad influences of those around him. Quite simply, the adaptation didn't work because the material had to be changed to fit the format of a typical Western movie, which didn't allow for the drawn-out battles of wits that the anime and manga garnered so much attention for. American filmmakers feel the need to shoehorn Hollywood conventions into stories that were only successful to begin with because of a lack of them. One lesser-known anime adaptation failure was the Genji collection, which created several shorts based off of Genji's horror manga. I am a big fan of his manga, which is often lauded as being one of the best examples of horror, not just horror manga. His work is often remembered due to his detailed drawings and gory, unhappy endings, and I was very excited to see it on screen. However, the animation studio just couldn't give it the amount of detail that it required to scare audiences as much as the original material did. Without these details, the work looked empty, weightless, and boring. Even if the anime was able to create art with that level of detail, it still wouldn't have worked to that extent, as part of the horror of Uzumaki, Gaio, and his other works is the anticipation that builds as you are restricted by your reading speed, and how fast or slow you turn the page. There's a lot that can be conveyed visually, but different things are suited for cinematic reveal than those on paper. Because Genji's work was meant for paper to be read instead of passively watched, it hits differently than a horror movie does, which relies on colors, sound, and acting to be believable and scary. Book adaptations are usually the ones complained about the most, as it's inevitable that the filmmakers will usually get something wrong as they bring it to screen. Usually, that's fine. The resulting product is somewhat better suited to adaptation than others because film is based on a script. A script is written word, which a book can change to accommodate more easily, but not often to the same level of its original product. Take, for example, The Hunger Games. I loved the books growing up, which was riddled with small inflections and characters that you simply wouldn't be able to see from sight alone. You can show Katniss being given bread by PETA, but that does not communicate the hope she felt in knowing that she would survive another day. The mourning she felt for Thrash after his death could not be shown because outwardly, she had to pretend it didn't affect her. Despite the actors' performances, there was a lot left out simply because those details were inner thoughts or feelings and were therefore unsuited for film exploration. Of course, this isn't always true. There are plenty of adaptations that are good or sometimes even better than the original material. For example, Jurassic Park. The book was obviously more science-minded, but Spielberg's adaptation was just as thrilling, if not more so. But more often than not, this just simply isn't true. So, why do adaptations keep coming out, especially when they fail so often? Well, they seem like good investments on paper, and even if it does fail, there will be a subset of fans from the original thing watching it anyway, just because they're loyal to that brand. I doubt that adaptations will ever stop, despite how oversaturated the market is with remakes and reboots, but at least it's obvious now why certain ones fail so horribly. And this, dear friends, is where we part. Thank you all so much for watching, and please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.